Geoff Mosher from the Inside the Birds podcast joins the conversation. The Eagles' first depth chart is out. And, we don't make a whole heck of a lot of these depth charts, Geoff Mosher, obviously, but there are some interesting things that can tell a story because Vic Fangio did speak on some of this stuff today. And obviously, if you look at the depth chart, you see Adoree Jackson and Kaylee Ringo, both of them, and that is a battle that I guess we might see Thursday night kind of unfold, do you think?
Yeah, Mike. I think you got to. I think you have to expect, based on what Vic said at his press conference and just in general, that you've got to see some of these guys vying for starting spots. I know Nick Sirianni doesn't typically play starters, but right now he doesn't know who certain starters are. So that's why he's got to go out and see him.
Right, obviously. So, if I was to say who has the edge in the corner battle, Jackson or Ringo, listening to Vic Fangio today, Geoff, he said, well, they're both doing pretty good. Like, he didn't really sometimes he's a truth serum guy. He didn't seem to give anything, didn't play his hand there, right?
Definitely not. And I don't think he's being coy. I think he's given Adoree Jackson and he has given Kaylee Ringo both opportunities with the first team all throughout camp. I mean, I don't know if it's 50-50, but some days it's been Jackson a couple days in a row. Then they'll go back to Ringo for a few. So it's a true battle. And he said he likes what he sees from both. I think he made reference to both having just to eliminate negative plays. But the big thing is he's always talked about practices not having enough reps to get enough evaluation, even on a day like today where it was almost 2 hours. And I think that's why he needs to use these preseason games to just continue to get more reps to evaluate these guys.
Geoff, the other spot's the safety spot there. I want to get your take on because for two reasons. One, they're both listed as the starters. He did talk specifically about Sidney Brown saying, yeah, he's doing good. We just need to see some more polish in that spot. He also said Drew Makuba probably not available on Thursday. So how does Makuba's availability maybe play into this safety spot for you?
Well, I mean, eventually Drew will get back out there. It doesn't sound like the injury is that serious that he's going to be out that much longer. He is missing some valuable reps. But at the same time, I would say, it'll give him an opportunity to look at Sidney Brown more. It'll give him an opportunity to look at Cooper DeJean at safety. He's been playing safety and base. I'm sure there will be a couple of opportunities from the Bengals standpoint, depending on how they deploy their personnel, to see Cooper DeJean play safety and base and continue to get an evaluation of him on that.
Geoff, I want to get some thoughts on just a general thought here about how valuable is the preseason to Vic Fangio and this evaluation process. So many young defenders are competing for jobs. So is this preseason more valuable than maybe the previous preseasons have been to this team?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. This is more valuable because you have more competition at spots. Last year, for example, on offense, the only guy who played in the first preseason game who was considered a starter was Mekhi Becton because he had just become kind of the starter as Steen got hurt shortly before the first preseason game and Becton got in there and he needed the reps. So if you need the reps, you got to play. And that's why it becomes more important for Vic now this year as opposed to probably past years and other places where he knew what he had more.
Geoff, let's get to, should the Eagles be concerned? We talked about this Friday with Adam. I wanted to get your take on this. We just talked about the safety spot. You think they're concerned about the inexperience at that spot, or is this the way to go with these two guys? Because Adam gave us a list of some safeties. They all have some experience that, Justin Simmons is still out there. Do you think that will be a murmur throughout preseason, or are they okay?
No, I think it's fair. It's a fair question. I mean, obviously you're seeing Cooper DeJean there for a reason, right? Also because A, he's talented enough to play the position, but B, he's in year 2 of this defense and a high pick. And they don't have to do that. They're doing it because there's really an unsettled decision here next to next to Reed Blankenship. So I think inexperience is fair to bring up, but I don't know that they're going to be rushing to sign somebody real quick. I mean, in order to figure out if inexperience is an issue, they have to be able to see Brown, Makuba, and whoever else, Andre Sam, guys there for more than 2 weeks of camp.
All right, Moshe, a couple other things on this, obviously, secondary battle here. What are you making of the way he's talking about DeJean at safety? Do you think that's a role that he legitimately could have this year in some capacity? What is your take on that whole, because is he too valuable in the spot that he's at?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're going to move him out of slot corner, nickel, as Vic calls it, unless they need to, unless they have a really good nickel and then somebody gets hurt at safety. Obviously Mac McWilliams is injured right now, but he was doing okay. I don't think they see him as a first team starting, nickel right away, maybe a dime corner. So I think Cooper DeJean is going to see most of his time at nickel, but if you have the opportunity to get a really good player, versatile player at safety in other deployments, like in base defense, then yeah, they're gonna take a look there. But I don't see a position switch permanent this year coming up for Cooper DeJean. He's just too valuable and too good, and a lot of what they do is out of the nickel package anyway.
A lot of questions about Eli Ricks here. Intrigued by his possibility. Can he morph himself into that cornerback battle with Adoree and Kaylee Ringo?
I don't know if he can do it between now and the start of the season, but I think I know he's impressing Vic Fangio. He's making some plays. He's got a really good chance to make the 53. I mean, he was on it last year, and they need backup outside corner. He can play it. He deserves what he's getting so far. I think he'd have to fall on his face over the next few weeks to really fall out of contention. Now, could he usurp those two? Usually that happens if there's like an injury, right? And then he gets forced into a starting spot and plays really well. I think it would probably take something like that. I don't know if he's going to even have the opportunity to prove that he's just a better overall corner than Adoree Jackson or Kaylee Ringo. And I'm not sure that he is. I just think that it's going to be those two until it's not.
Jahad Campbell's listed as a backup to Zach Bond, but do you anticipate, right now Jeremiah Trotter Jr. is the starter there, but is Campbell in battle with Trotter? How do you read that?
Absolutely. And this is a decision that Vic Fangio is going to have to make about, sort of expertise and know-how or just raw athleticism. Not that Jahad Campbell doesn't know how to play the position. He played it last 2 years at Alabama, but Trotter is the more instinctive player, the more natural stack linebacker. Campbell is just like a man on fire when he's out there. He makes some plays, but he, makes mistakes at 100 miles per hour, and he's still learning the position. He's got a lot on his plate because he's also trying to learn some edge rusher. And I think, like we've been saying, Vic's got to see how this all looks against a different team in a preseason form, like a game type format, to see how that's working out for Jahad Campbell.
We got a couple Mosher mailbag questions on the Monday that we had out there earlier, so let's throw some of them up and one of them has to do with Campbell, which is why I kind of waited for that particular spot to throw this up at you here. But how important is it for Jahad Campbell and Cooper DeJean to show this type of versatility? In other words, is there another layer to Vic Fangio's system that maybe we didn't get a chance to see last year?
It's a good timely question. I'm writing a story for phillyvoice.com. It'll be up either today, probably today, just about Vic's sort of intuition, right? And it is Vic who had this sense that Zach Bond could play inside linebacker. I am not saying, because we've already discussed this many times, Vic did not realize he was going to be an all-pro. Vic didn't see that coming, but he did feel like Zach Bond could make that transition, and Zach Bond made it well. So when Vic tells you that he thinks that Cooper DeJean can play some safety pretty well, which he said, and when he tells you that Jahad Campbell can do inside linebacker and edge rusher, he probably has a leg to stand on in saying it. Now, it doesn't mean these guys are all going to be Zach Bonds and all-pros and, who knows. But the point is, Vic's been doing this a long time, so he's got a pretty good idea of what guys can and can't do based on the tape that he sees of them, based on how he's coaching and his staff will coach them. And he's not always going to be right, but he's got a leg to stand on.
All right, Chris in Mays Landing. Will Ty Robinson need more time to develop before he sees significant reps? Because he was asked about Ty Robinson today. We just played the presser at 3:30, so a lot of questions revolving around that. And he did get asked about Ty Robinson, and people were excited about him.
Yeah, and I understand though. Vic is a truth serum kind of guy, and he said today that Robinson is picking things up at a normal rookie pace. And he said something about just got to see him be more active and more decisive. So that to me signals that, Ty Robinson's a rookie learning how to play as a rookie. Plus, it's got to be frustrating going up against a really, really good offensive line that he's going up against. So to me, that's Vic's way of saying, I've got to see this guy have a little bit better of a plan, start to acclimate better, make some plays, have it come naturally to him. And that might take a little bit of time. So right now, when you're talking about your interior defensive linemen who are going to see snaps when the actual season starts, you're talking about Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Moro Ajomo, maybe even Thomas Booker ahead of Ty Robinson to start the year.
All right. How about linebackers? Smile Mondin Jr. Has he quietly emerged as a sleeper contributor in camp? That's from Bill in Middle Township. Right now, Jeremiah Trotter is listed as the starter, but he did talk about Smile Mondin as well today.
Yeah, and I don't know. You would have to define sleeper here. Could he start? Probably not. But could he play a little bit? Will he be an impact special teamer? Yeah, definitely. I think he's got a lot of athleticism. I think he's actually a stronger player than his body frame might suggest because he's lighter. But he's an aggressive player. I've liked what I've seen. I always thought he was going to make the 53 anyway because he's a draft pick, went to Georgia, has a good pedigree, and probably will be one of the top guys off the bench if they have injuries until Nakobe Dean gets back. So I wouldn't quite call that a sleeper. I would just say you're getting what you expected and you're happy with it.
All right, let's get I'm trying to get the guy's name typed in here, but I didn't have a chance to type it in. Jeff, are we underrating what Uche could bring to this defense? That was from Steve in Summers Point.
So this is a chicken or egg conversation. Josh Uche is having a very good camp, and this guy hasn't done anything in like the last 3 years. I wouldn't say very good camp. He's having a good camp. He's flashing, right? You're seeing something there. Is it a good thing for the Eagles pass rush that that's like the dominant storyline of the edge rushers, or it's a good thing for Josh Uche, but what does that say about the Eagles pass rush? Because we're not, I don't want to be cruel, but it feels like Azeez Ojulari has been kind of invisible after the first day or two of camp. I watched Jalix Hunt today, and one-on-ones are certainly no measurement of anything really, but Jordan Mailata just stonewalled him twice on consecutive rushes in the one-on-one. So that just might, again, you're going up against a great left tackle, but you could see Jalix sort of like getting confounded by it. Haven't seen much. Obviously, Nolan Smith's been out for a little bit. So I'm not underrating what Josh Uche can bring. I think he's, got enough of a resume that he was pretty – I don't want to say definite to make the team, but, if they're going to go with a 4-man rotation, he'd be part of it. And maybe he rediscovers something here under Vic Fangio. But I think the question is, what is the state of the Eagles' edge rush right now?
Fair enough. And by the way, Uche is listed as a backup on one edge, and Ojulari is listed as the backup on the other edge. How about this edge? I don't know how to say this gentleman's name, and I'm not going to try, but can Ogbo Okawakawo be a legitimate rotational edge? That's from Ken in Lower.
Just call him Big O.
Like Alberto, not Alberto, Har.
No, not Alberto. Could he be a legitimate rotational edge? Yeah. He's got some chops. He's played in the league before. He's an undersized guy. He's fast. You can tell he's fast around the edges. Not quite sure that you're going to have him in there on base downs a whole lot, but the question is, can he be a rotational edge? And I guess that means can he play in sub packages? Let's just say I'm intrigued to see his snaps in the preseason and how this develops over the next week or two. All
right. Of course, the game is Thursday night. You can listen on 97.3 ESPN, and of course, the Eagles trying to defend that championship. As A.J. Brown said today, Lombardi is not loyal to anybody. So they are trying to bring Lombardi back. Good stuff from A.J. Brown. The Inside the Birds guys got plenty of good stuff, and Geoff Mosher has more over at phillyvoice.com. Check out the Inside the Birds podcast on all podcasting platforms. And, of course, Football at 4 every day right here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. All right, Geoff Mosher, we'll talk to you, pal.
All right, take care.